I really do appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's cool to get to talk to you from all the way over here in America and just getting different perspective and different, opinions and everything like that. I think is an interesting part of what I get to do here.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
I guess that let's just start this thing off. I'll have you introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us, just a little bit about you, who you are, and then we'll kind of roll into it from there.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm Matt. I'm 23. I'm based in the UK, probably about 50 miles out from London. I'm a personal trainer and a gymnastics. I'm a coach for gymnastics too. So I've been a personal trainer now for just under a year, and just started my online coaching ventures as well. Gymnastics wise, been coaching for about 7 years or so now. Been coaching from kids from 18 months old all the way up to to adulthood. So definitely got quite a mixture of different ages and obviously different people as well. But yeah, that's generally just like a little wrap up of me in coaching perspective.
Is gymnastics how you got into like sports initially, or how'd you get into that?
So gymnastics, no, to be honest with you, wasn't a gymnast myself. I basically got into by accident basically when I was 16, by my granddad. He's a coach as well. So basically he got me into it. And basically just fell in love with the sport as soon as I saw it. Really, it was like one of the things like love at first sight with the sport.
Other than like, gymnastics and stuff, was sports a big part of your life, or was just kind of movement a big part of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think sport's been ever since I was a little kid. I was always out and about. So we sort of always lived sort of in the sticks, sort of lived in the middle of nowhere, basically in the countryside. So we was always out and about, playing outside, always moving. We'd always go on like walking holidays when we was a kid, climbing mountains. I was always cycling about. I was always doing cycling days, stuff for charities. There's always a lot of stuff. So yeah, sports definitely a massive part of my life. And movement, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool how people don't, I think, sometimes think about that kind of movement as like activity and exercise and stuff, but a lot of people can benefit from that kind of thing if they don't like going into the weight room, going to lift weights or run on a treadmill or whatever. You can do so many different activities, such as, like you said, hiking or just going outside and, you know, walking around. Like those things also count as a exercise.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's always come down to like what do you enjoy most? Because if you enjoy being outside on top of a mountain more than you do in the gym squatting 100 kilo, you're really going to get the benefit of what you want out of one out of the other. So I think it always comes down to what do you enjoy the most really as well.
Yeah, and I think the mental benefits is kind of where you see that, what you enjoy. I think that's where you see the mental benefits really come into it because you can force yourself to work out, at a gym or force yourself to, go either way. But I think we underestimate that side of it. I don't think on a daily basis, at least we think of like, okay, if I go work out, it's going to make me feel better kind of thing. I think we know that from like a big picture, I think, but every day I don't think we think about it that much.
Mm.
When it comes to like getting into the actual like world of fitness itself, is that something that stemmed from gymnastics?
Oh, as like a personal trainer.
Yes.
Yeah, so it stems a little bit from gym gymnastics. Because in gymnastics is obviously a part of it as well. Quite a big part of it is physical prep, so how to condition people in the right way, safely, and using the right muscles. So I thought, well, what better way of doing it? Obviously, getting your level 2 and your level 3 personal trainer and getting into it that way. But yeah, that was really it. Basically, it really was just like a side on really from the gymnastics, getting the knowledge that I needed, and then bring that back to the gymnastics. But obviously, now it's sort of personal trainer, sort of seen it a bit more than that. I've made it a bit more of sort of my life, and obviously done a little more work on it as well. So yeah, I'm definitely sort of going down both routes instead of just like an add-on one down one route. It's definitely now like both are like growing at the sort of same sort of time.
And when did you start getting into without, not just coaching, but when did you get into like the exercise side of things yourself?
So in terms of like weightlifting, I probably got into it when I was 18, so maybe about 5 years ago. But to be honest, I probably only properly like doing stuff properly, probably for the past couple of years, to be totally fair with you. The past 3 years, I think everyone's got in that situation where they've gone to the gym, not really know what they're doing, so playing a bits and pieces, looking online, seeing bits and pieces, but sort of knocking down and properly doing proper training, nutrition, stuff like that. Probably the last couple of years, but yeah, really started the gym when I was 18.
Yeah, and when you mention that, I think it kind of brings up a good point of like not skipping the beginning part. It's so important to, I think, get a personal trainer, get a coach at the very beginning, because that's kind of a place where you develop so many habits, whether that be in your eating, whether that be in like what you think about working out, or in the habits of like technique stuff. I think, the sooner you can get a jump on all that stuff, the better for a lot of people. It also, I think, you sometimes don't know what you're doing, so you don't see those results. But if
Mm,
you get like a trainer, a coach, you start to see those results, and it becomes fun, I think, and that's when it's easy to stick to.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
What made you decide to actually start promoting yourself on Instagram?
Yeah, I think I started obviously on the gym floor. I just thought, well, how can I get a bigger reach here? How can I sort of use my knowledge to try and gain, more people's knowledge and to obviously improve them as well? And also, how do people sort of interact and sort of gain their knowledge themselves? Most of the time, it is generally online where they can do it in the comfort of their home and do it whenever they like. So I thought, well, hey, why don't I tap into that and obviously broadcast what I know, the information that I know, and obviously try and help people online instead of on the gym floor. So really, it was just to get a bigger, broader reach of people, and obviously help people and give people the right knowledge, because there's obviously, as you know as well, there's an awful lot of knowledge out there that's not right, and people are getting quite confused with it. I think online there's quite a big spectrum of it. I think if you go into a gym and you ask a personal trainer, you're pretty much going to get quite a good answer. But if you go online, you're going to get a 50 billion answers. There's quite a big vague answer. So I think it's quite, that's generally the reason why I sort of went online, to try and give people more of a better route of sort of the knowledge that they need.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of influencers and brands out there that are not maybe out there for the best reasons, pushing products or pushing just whatever. And yeah, sometimes I think there's too many messages to really, even if like each message contains a little bit of a good answer, it's just so hard for somebody to follow that many accounts to get enough good information, really. I mean, there's definitely those good accounts out there, so there's good and bads to it, but I think the information is just spread so thin, it's so hard to collect it all in one good place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many different accounts out there, like you say, with influencers and stuff like that, and people. That's generally what quite a few people look up to. So I think it's quite cool that the fitness industry has sort of gone into that and tapped into that, and also said, okay, cool, well, we're going to try and help people using our fitness accounts as well.
So one thing you mentioned was helping people, and I think that's interesting because a lot of people who are into fitness are also into helping other people become, fitter, healthier. You don't really, I don't think, see that as much in other fields or hobbies or whatever it is. Some people don't go into it for like a real profession, but they still want to help other people. You don't really see that with other skills as much. Why do you think that that's so big in the fitness industry?
I think a lot of people, they've sort of had their own journey. I think they've sort of seen it from one side, whether there was overweight, there was underweight, there was a beginner once before, and they sort of were at that stage where they didn't know what to do, didn't know how to reach out, and obviously they've got to that point now where they've got the knowledge, they've got the understanding, and know how to do it. And I think it's a lot of people who do it for the right reason, who do it for the right reasons. They do it because they want to give something back, and they want to broaden that horizon of the right message and the right ways of doing stuff, and obviously try and give people, because quite a lot of people, they see the gym as quite like hard and quite difficult to follow. I think when we all start a fitness journey, we're all like, well, where the hell do we start? So I think it's for us personal trainers, it's our job to really try and help people through that and guide people through that. And I think that's generally probably why personal trainers probably have got that mindset, because they probably were that person once before, and everyone did have to start from zero at the end of the day. So they're at that point where they can try and help people who are at zero, or they might not be, they might be hopping through their journey, they need tweaking, but through people that are at zero, help them through to where they want to get to.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting because our health, it's everything, but we don't know how to really take care of it. We don't know. And I think you think as like a human, you would be like just in tune and with how to do that. But there's, there really is so much that goes into it. And I don't know if that's something that we lost along the way, in culture, with the commercialization and stuff of everything. Uh, but I just think it's so fascinating how we need other people to share with us how we need to be healthy. Do you think that like personal training is almost like it's I feel like personal training is such like a personal experience, with somebody. Do you think that personal training is almost like not valued enough in our societies, to where like you go to the doctor and doctors and nurses are, typically pretty valued, but as far as personal trainers go, there's just so many different people doing it. There's so much misinformation out there, and I just feel like sometimes you don't get the respect as a personal trainer.
Yeah, it's quite a big question, quite a few questions probably answered around that. But I think a lot of people, they grow up, they become the person they are, they've got a job elsewhere, and they don't really enter that spectrum, they don't really enter that round world of like the gym, personal training, how to better themselves physically and mentally. Quite a lot of people, they wake up, they do their job, they go to bed, they go to bed. They don't really they have like a structure of what they do, and a lot of people don't go outside that structure. So I think unless they're either brought up into it, or they meet people that they know by accident, or something like that, if they're not in it, I don't think they're going to be in it. And I think if people go, "Oh, I'm a personal trainer," they're like, "Okay, cool." Like, they don't really know too much about it. They obviously know personal trainer obviously help people, but they don't know what it entails, how it is, how much it is, or anything it is at all. So I think there's quite I think a lot of people don't really know too much about personal training, and that's probably the general why that is.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that has so much value to a community. Just, because we do know so much about, really, if you think about, a good personal trainer, at least we know so much about the human body, about psychology, about how to, what we should be eating on a general level. We do really have a lot of information that we can share, but then also a lot of people are sometimes scared also to go to personal trainers. Why do you think that is?
Um, I don't know. I think you're right. There's a lot of people that are scared to go personal trainers. I think it's just that confrontation, maybe of like asking for help. They don't want to feel like embarrassed, don't want to feel like they're a bad person or anything like that. But it could also be they don't really fully know sort of what questions they need to ask, what reason there is. They might think, okay, do you know what? I'm on the right journey. There's obviously weight loss groups out there that obviously do stuff completely wrong, and they're part of that journey. They think that's right, and obviously going to see a personal trainer, and they might do it a completely different way. And obviously, it means changing the whole system up of how they eat foods and stuff like that. There's a whole different sort of spectrum out there of sort of how it is. I think personal training is very underrated. It's very, very underrated. If you get a good personal trainer, I think they can literally like transform everything, how you thought fitness was, help your nutrition, the mental sides of it, like, is just phenomenal. Like, there's so much aspect of getting a personal trainer. I think if everybody just got a personal trainer, literally for like 6 months to a year, like just for their life, I think it would just transform like completely. Just because like the personal trainer is basically like a bag of knowledge they can just give to you basically and help you and put your joints through good range of motion, everything like that. That's just going to completely help you through. And if people just did that instead of joining weight loss things, and I'm not going to name names, but joining like weight loss groups and stuff like that, and doing stuff that's like sinful and stuff like that that's not really working, then you get a bad relationship with food. Like, I think people just got rid of that, but that's I think you hit the nail on the head a while ago. Like, it's the commercialism of it. It's people see that, and then people see that stuff online like that, and it's quite hard then to go into a different realm. as well.
Yeah, I think when there's, there's good and bad to it, I think, but sometimes when there's money to be made, sometimes there's, manipulation and why, why would you really want someone to achieve their goal? Because then they're not maybe going to be on your weight loss stuff anymore. So just kind of, giving them a little bit at a time, but not really ever getting them to where they need to go. I think that's part of a personal trainer's responsibility in a way, is to almost lessen your responsibility as they grow too. So when you talk about your own personal journey and you started, when you were about 18, what's some of the things that you thought about lifting weights or just, exercise in general when you started versus now? Like, how has your mind changed on some things?
Now, when I was 18, I was quite a keen cyclist. So I literally went to the gym just to train legs. That's literally what I did. Went to the gym, trained legs, didn't do any up body at all. I just did the big leg moves, really, your squats, your leg press and stuff like that. I did the big moves and just went. I didn't know too much about the gym, didn't know the range or anything like that, but I just knew that it could help towards what I wanted to get in cycling. I think 6 months down the line later on, I sort of went into a done bit of body stuff, but didn't really know fully how to sort of do it. And just sort of watch people, really, just sort of watch people, people with good form and also people with not so good form, and sort of followed them and copied them and sort of gave that a go and see how it sort of went. And it got some progress, but it didn't obviously make the best progress that you could have done. So I think the mindset then was really, I'm here. Like, I'm here. I've turned up. Like, I'll just do a bit and I'm done. I think, and sort of now it's sort of like, yeah, I'm here, but I'm here to do a job. I'm here to work the body, do the stuff right, go back and recover with eating, nutrition, and sleep, and all sorts of stuff like that. So I think the transition is really sort of knowing the process now to then just sort of just showing up, and I'm sort of like, I'm there. So that's probably the big difference, is sort of knowing why you're there.
Yeah, and I think part of like knowing why you're there comes from like the mental aspect of being there, like having your focus there. I think that's one thing that sometimes people struggle with. They have their mind on so many different other things that maybe they don't finish their workout because they have to go, do this or do that, or they're sitting on their phone. So they do a set, then they wait 10 minutes and do another one. I think the focus aspect of just being in the gym and taking care of what you need to do when you're in there it's important, but it's also like it comes down to, I think, like what you said a little bit of too, is just knowing why you're there. So as a coach, I think coaching is one of those things. It's really cool to get to do as a gymnastics coach and as like a trainer. What are some things that you've learned about kind of how other people are along the way?
I think the biggest thing is don't treat everybody the same. I think that's really the biggest thing. Like, everybody's different. Everyone's got their reasons why they're there. Everyone's got their own goals. Everyone's in a different line of their progress. And I think, if you don't treat them all as one size fits all, and don't give the same program, don't give the same things, and just allowing them to sort of be themselves, and sort of, yes, obviously you're the trainer, you give them the program and the ways of doing it, but allowing them to sort of have a little bit of say into it as well, and not just being like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, like allowing them a bit of flexibility and stuff like that. So really sort of working with people, you just, like you see the name, really, you're working with them. You're not like a barker, you're not telling them what to do, you're working with them. So really, I think it's like keeping them individualized and sort of being as part with them.
Yeah, I think that's one thing you just said of like personalization. I think with like social media, a lot of times you find a lot of people who are just out there selling programs, and it's the same thing to everybody. And a lot of times it's those people who have tons of followers that are doing it. So it's hard to like get people to realize that, this is your journey. You need something that fits with you. You might have a certain need or a certain injury or whatever it may be. You're everyone's different. So it's crazy. It's like you wouldn't give like the same prescription, pill, or the same amount of that pill or whatever to every single person who has, just like, if I have a weight loss goal and you have a weight gain goal, we're not going to get the same program. But there's a lot of things out there that are like, oh, we'll just take this program and you're going to look like me. I think that's one of the biggest struggles with social media. So as far as your training goes, it's like helping others. Where do you kind of hope to take that in the future? What's kind of your big goal with that?
So my big goal is in 23 years time. My biggest goal is roughly 23, roughly 30 for years around and there. Really, my biggest goal is to have two big units, so one gymnastics unit and one gym unit alongside each other. Obviously, gymnastics coaches all working in their different disciplines, stuff like that. And then the gym, which they're going to have classes, swimming pool, saunas, a lot really. And that's really sort of my sort of big goal, is to have sort of two big base units, then have lots of different units dotted around the country and hopefully the world as well, sort of helping different people around the world and the countries. So yeah, that's really my biggest aim, is to try and sort of get that. That's really the biggest aim.
Being able to help people like that in person is such a cool, it's good to help people online for sure, but I think when you get to see someone in person and like they see you, you see them on a fairly regular basis, and you can kind of, see them make that progress. I think, it really is kind of like fulfilling whenever it comes down to their progress.
I think it's a lot more personal as well. I think online, you see them, you see the progress, you talk and stuff like that, but there's nothing like seeing someone in the flesh and seeing somebody physically seeing and sort of seeing their progress. I think it's a lot more personal. Like you say, it's a lot more fulfilling as well.
There's a lot of differences when it comes to like health and ideas and stuff around the world, and I get to talk to like different people from different countries, and it's really cool to hear their perspective. But what would you say is maybe one of the biggest differences, like from what you see on Instagram when it comes to like people and their habits and stuff versus where you are?
It's probably the clarity of what to do, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people are very confused of what to do, and they don't really know what to follow. Or people have tried this weight loss, they've tried this, they've tried losing weight by this, tried losing by this, and they obviously don't get anywhere. If they do, they'll also whack it all back on. I think the difference between where people are who haven't had the knowledge and haven't had the realization of how to do it, compared to somebody who has got the knowledge and who has got the guidance and the pathway to get them there, is literally just knowledge and experience. I think if people have got the knowledge they need by by personal trainer, looking online, talking to people, and getting the right way of doing it, I think then it's the best way of doing it, is then getting them across and obviously getting them through that journey for them. Really, I think that's the best sort of way. So yeah, that's definitely the biggest difference, is just knowledge and patience, really, knowledge and time. If they've got if they gain the knowledge that they need over time, they will change. If they've got the right knowledge. I think it's also having the sustainability, but then that comes down to the knowledge as well. If they know the knowledge and the knowledge is right, then it's going to be sustainable for them.
That's a big point right there, is like having that knowledge and sharing that knowledge with other people. But how do you kind of stay up to date on information that comes out? Like, how do you listen to podcasts, read books? Like, do you do anything specifically to help yourself with new stuff that's coming out?
Yeah, and I think self-development is a massive key to keeping yourself sort of the best that you can, because new stuff's coming out, new things coming in. Obviously, the basic stuff's still there: how to lose weight, how to gain muscle. The core principles, they're always going to be the same, how it's going to work. But different things always change all the time. I think definitely like podcasts and that's one for me. I'm quite a busy person, so whacking a podcast in the car when I'm driving is worth weight in gold. Reading books, yeah, I'm completely honest with you. Like I quite struggle like reading books. I'm quite hard on it, but there is a few books out there that I have read and I do read. So podcast are in a way forward. Going to seminars, like obviously before COVID. Obviously, hopefully now after COVID, obviously they're going to get back on. I don't know what it's like in the States, but over in the UK, obviously things are beginning to open back up now. The seminars are beginning to open back through. So yeah, going back to them and just keep engaging with people, learning off people. And I think always having that open mindset of like, you can never learn enough. Like you never do learn enough. You never do know enough. I think the day you close your doors and the day you think, oh, no enough's all good, like you're done basically. Like you've always got to have that knowledge and be open to new ideas at the end of the day.
You mentioned COVID during quarantine. Did you have any struggles at all with like your health and your fitness?
No, to be honest, it probably done me a favour. To be honest with you, like it sort of got me back on track, sort of what I was going to do. Obviously, it was a shame, obviously, how COVID happened, but obviously, personally, obviously, it was done me a massive favour. It sort of got back on track, sort of maybe realise sort of what I want and how I'm going to do it. So, in terms of fitness wise, I just kept with the podcast, kept learning stuff, talking to people, connecting with new people online. Yeah, it was just sort of making that transition from like, okay, everything you used to do, like driving up north to go to seminars, to now going, okay, I'm going to do it online, to a webinar or a Zoom call. Was just making that transition, and just keep going. Just keep going.
I think that's one thing about COVID. It definitely I think affected a lot of people negatively, but if you were somewhat willing to really look at it, I think it also helped you see what was most important to you, because everything was so black and white when it comes like this is what you can and can't do. It made you really see like, oh, well, that's what I really, really want to do. So, I wish I did it more, or I wish I could do it now. And kind of thinking like, well, I can't wait to do it again. I think like I said, we had definitely, I think a lot of people struggling, but I think it helped push some people too in the right direction of like, this is where I want to be when I can be back there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is, like I said, it gave people, obviously in the bad circumstances, but it gave people as well like a wake up call as well on their health, whether it's physically or mentally. I don't know about you, but obviously when the gyms reopened, we had a lot of people coming in, people wanting to transform their lives, and obviously get them become a fitter version of themselves. I think it really, for a lot of people, it hit that reset button and going, right, okay, what do I want? What are my core values? What do I want to achieve? And just going from there. I think that's, for a lot of people, that sort of helped them that way. And I would say a lot of people now are becoming fitter and better versions of themselves, physically and mentally too.
Really, when it comes down to like how we handle the aftermath of this thing, I think we really should emphasize health more within the structure of our societies, because there's so much going on that like just does not benefit our health on an individual level, and then obviously that trickles to a macro level. But like if there was something you could change within society that would help just make us a healthier human population, what would that be?
Probably get rid of all the misinformation, to be totally fair. I think people are just confused. They don't know what path to go down. People's intentions are right. Like, they want to lose weight, they want to gain weight, they want to get a better version of themselves. They just don't know how to do it. And there's so many different paths that they can go down, and they just don't know which one to go. If you've tried 3 or 4 different ways of doing it, it doesn't work. Like, you're going to get kept knocked down, and it's quite hard to do it. So I think the best thing is probably get rid of stuff that doesn't work, get rid of the misinformation, get rid of people online that are selling all this weight loss pills and weight loss jabs and all that lot. Just get rid of it all, because it's just confusing people. I think just really, get the people that do know their stuff in place and just promote that a lot more. I think that transition could happen. I think people is just being stop because all this misinformation, people just don't know how to actually do it. Yeah, the biggest thing is just get rid of all the misinformation.
It's a big issue, especially like with social media, because now like you have so much more access to the misinformation. It used to be before, like you might have had bad information, but it was only like, within that group that you actually hung around with in real life. And you might have got stuck in some habits that weren't great, but you didn't get stuck in like 1,000 different bad habits that you never would have known about before. So I think it's definitely like one of the most challenging things that comes along with social media is picking out the good from the bad. So within fitness, do you have something that is maybe a huge pet peeve of yours, something that just like irritates you, gets under your skin when you see it? Like, what would that be? Whether that's in the gym or on social media, like wherever it is.
There is a couple, to be fair. I mean, when I've made a couple of pet peeves is probably like you probably see them like the gym bros, like them people that that just leave all their equipment around, don't really clean their equipment, and sort of in the middle of time taking photos and just sort of being an annoying person in the gym. Really, I think that's a big one in the gym that's sort of really frustrating. But the second one really is these weight loss organizations that are just teaching people absolutely seriously bad habits, like a bad relationship with food and stuff like that. I think they're my two probably biggest pet peeves, because obviously I've had people come to me that have been on them, and obviously you've got to change their whole mindset of you don't have to count your sins, you don't have to do all this. Like you can as long as you stick to this and do a bit of this, like, there's a lot of flexibility than what you think there is. To obviously adapt to what you want, and you hit the nail on the head. Like there's lots of different ways to get towards what you want to get to, and every single person is individual to what they want to get to as well. And I think a lot of weight loss companies are like, right, you've got to do this, and it might work for a couple of people, a small percentage of people, but what about the rest of the percentages as well? I think that's what it's got to be individualized. I think when it comes to doing the right way, you can do it as long as the basics are there. Obviously, as long as the basics are there, like the rest of the stuff is up to you. It's up to you, sort of how you want to get your protein in. It's up to you how you want to get your steps in. It's up to you. There's lots of different ways of how you want to do it. So I think, yeah, it really is that. They're my probably two pet peeves.
It's like especially if it's coming from like a good place, we think like you're helping someone out by being like, this is how you have to do it, because it gives them a clear plan. But then if they don't like that plan, or if it doesn't work for them, I think it brings on a lot of like discouragement and people quitting before they even just try another thing. Like that could be their first thing they try and it doesn't work. And they're like, oh, well, this was supposed to be like the way I did it, that it works for me and it doesn't work. So there must be something wrong with me. So I think it's so easy to try to help people in this field and then do the opposite just on accident. There's so many. It's such a psychological game, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a exactly what you said. But I think it just comes down to, you've got to understand what the person's needs are. Because if you understand what they want, you can put that in their plan, help them out towards that, and it gives them the flexibility as well. So yeah, it definitely comes down to the psychological effects of them as well.
Yeah, and I think it'd be cool if there was more like psychology within personal training and within what we get taught. I think it'd be cool if we could understand the mind more. I think there's some of it that goes on, in some courses, and then some classes if you have like a college background in it. But like, I think like when it comes down to it, nothing really happens unless it starts in the mind. So, if we can learn how to not manipulate it, but if we can learn how to like work with it, then I think we'd have much more success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like you said, everything sort of comes from the mind, and a lot of it's very easy to just go, oh, I'll stop this, I don't want to do this, and oh, this is too hard, stuff like that. But if you sort of think, okay, cool, this person knows what they're doing, they've given me this flexibility, and you sort of chat to them, okay, you're gonna have really good days. You're gonna have days where it's just like, oh, do you know what, like, and that's just completely normal. That's sort of just life. I think if you can just teach people that, and teach people, the mental effects of training, the mental effects of getting out for a walk, the mental effects of eating healthier, like it's definitely going to change their mindset, not only for the gym, but for work, for sleep, for family, like for everything. Fitness is not just like it's out for the gym for an hour and go home. Like it's a whole spectrum, it's a whole bubble of sort of their whole life, really, without it making their whole life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so crazy how much power like just fitness has, health has on everything else. And we're kind of like the teachers in a way of like how to have a better life. And that's it seems like that's so much responsibility when it comes down to it. Like impacting someone's fitness journey in a negative way could really have some crazy negative effects on someone's total life. And that's a lot of pressure for somebody, I think.
Of course, yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it just comes down to like having the right information and the right conversations with them, making sure that everything's all sound right from the get-go. I think the first month when you join somebody is probably the most crucial month, because you're making sure everything's all good, you're getting the best rapport with them, they're all happy and everything's all good. And if you've got that first month underway and the core foundations and basics are there, then they're set up and all good, ready to rock and roll for the rest of the time. Really, of course, it bumps along the way, but if you get that foundations right, then yes, it's going to be a pretty good, successful journey for them.
Definitely. Yeah, completely agree. There's got to be that nice solid foundation and build it from there. And that's where, people like you come in, just, being coaches and personal trainers, you gotta set people up, and that's what we're here to do. And that's kind of like a little bit about what this podcast is about too, in a way. It's just like sharing some information, and it's cool to get different perspectives, your perspective and where you are. And then I think it's cool to learn also from people who may not be personal trainers, but they have different life experiences. Are there people within your life that have like helped you when it comes to, not like in the fitness industry, but have helped you maybe, and then that translate into your coaching or into your training?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different people that sort of what's the word, like become like a positive influence on me. There's a lot of people that sort of become that, and they come from people that you look up to, whether family members, whether that's friends, partners, people that are in your shoes of where you want to get to. I think there's lots of different people, lots of different areas that sort of make you who you are. But yeah, really, there's lots of different people, lots of different ways how people can influence you. Whether that's just somebody that's older than you, that's got the experience. I think it's always good to have that, somebody that's got that experience, and have somebody that you can connect with. Somebody that's obviously in your shoes already, and somebody who you sort of look up to. I think it's always good to have, because you can ask them about their journey, how they got there, and obviously somebody then also you're working along with as well. I think it's always good to have them three different people in your sort of lives, so you've got them three different areas as well. But yeah, there's always also that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the benefits of social media when it comes down to it. Like, we have this ability now to connect with so many different people around the world who you may never even have heard of, but they could be, very inspirational and motivational to you. And, they could be living 1,000, 10,000 miles away. It's just so cool how we can now, even if they're, have 10 million followers on Instagram or whatever, it's like you can still pull from them. You might not be a one-on-one mentor, but you can still get positivity from that. And I think that's definitely one of the biggest takeaways, at least for me, on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great that nowadays we can all connect with people, like you said, from the other side of the world, and it's just great because you get a bigger understanding as well of sort of how things work as well. So yeah, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. You can pull things from different people, obviously look up to them as well on a different aspect. So also it just biggens your circle really as well, which is always a positive.
I think it's so important who we surround ourselves with, and that definitely goes to social media as well. If we follow negative people, if we follow people that are giving us bad information, that's going to play a big impact on our mindset, and then on kind of what we have the potential to do. So yeah, just find some good accounts, find some good people to follow, and pull from them. I think that can be such a life changer, really.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day as well, social media is free as well. So that's even better. Like, people are posting fantastic content. People are willing. People are doing really well in life. They're more than willing to help people grow. So at the end of the day, like, it's completely free as well, which is you can't really lose, to be honest with you. So it's fantastic. It's really, really cool how it's connecting people in that sort of aspect.
Yeah, how it connected. It's just a simple conversation like this. Social media helped to get the ball rolling on that. But to kind of close things out here, do you have any advice for someone who maybe just starting in their fitness journey, or even if they're not just starting, but if they're struggling in their fitness journey, how to kind of either get on track or get back on track?
I think the best thing to do, first of all, is take a step back. Take yourself out of the situation you're in the gym, whether you haven't been to the gym yet, or whether and you're nervous getting to the gym, you're nervous step foot in the door. Take a step back, or whether you're in the gym but you don't know what you're doing. Tell me something again. Take a step back, get out of that bubble, and get the clarity of what you want. Like, why are you going there? Like, what's your reasoning why you're going there? Is it to get fitter? Is it to move more? Is it to lose weight? Get that clarity of why you're there. Because if you've got the clarity of why you're going there, you're more chance to want to keep going. If you're just going there just because you fancy it, like most chances you're probably not going to stick to it. To getting that clarity. The second one is to hire somebody. Like, could not recommend who enough. Hire a good personal trainer, just because they will show you the ropes of how things work. If you're new to the gym, it will give you that confidence that you need. It will give you the understanding of how your body works, how the exercises work, how to overload the muscles, and how to set you on your path and then keep you towards your journey. Also, if you're lost in your journey, it can put you back on track. You could talk to somebody who's had experience, who knows what they're doing, and then put you back on track onto that path. So I think the best one is find clarity of what you want to achieve in the gym. Find somebody who knows what they're doing, and then, you could, and then literally then just make a plan. Like, make a plan of what you're doing. Like, if you're going to go there 3 times a week, cool. What days you going? Put it in your weekly diary. Get structure and consistency of what you're doing. If it was in your weekly plan, what you're going to do it, you're more likely to stick to it. Don't go, oh, I'll do it tomorrow night, I'll do it another night. Like, get structure of what you're doing and just stick to it. That's probably the best thing I can really advise.
I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing a little bit of about your experience. And yeah, it was cool to get to talk to you this morning.
Well, thank you very, very much for waking up really, really early.
No, it was good. It was good to have this conversation. Like I said at the beginning, I think it's cool to start your day like this a lot of times to push that positivity in right from the beginning. So thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thank you very, very, very much. I much appreciate it.